We were playing the New York Jets in our first preseason game in Birmingham, Alabama. It was battle time, and we kicked off to the New York Jets. And I ran down the field and made the first opening tackle. We were losing 20-0, and it was late in the fourth quarter. And I was going in to block a punt. And my roommate actually blocked the punt. And I picked up the punt and ran for a touchdown. I think it was 22 yards. And I was just so happy. I said, wow, I made a touchdown. I mean, my whole football career in college, I never even touched the football. And here I was, I made a touchdown in my very first professional football game.
Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you coming out and partaking in this particular panel. As you know, my name is Chantal Potter. I'm Bill Costen's daughter, and I have been producing a documentary on really just his life, the trials, and the triumphs. So my dad was a professional football player. He played for the Buffalo Bills back in 1970. That was back when OJ was playing. And eventually he got cut. Eventually his career ended with the Bills, and they put him on a farm team in Hartford, Connecticut. That's what brought him to Hartford. And he just kind of had to reinvent himself. And so, you know, I wanted to create a series of discussions to just kind of unpack some of the themes within the documentary. So I know the title is called Balloon Man because that's eventually the career path that he took. But you know, he accomplished so many things before he got to that point. And so this particular panel, I wanted to kind of just dive deeper into, you know, the careers of various professional athletes, and then what happens after sports, life after sports. You know, once the jerseys are retired and all is said and done, you know, then what? You know, just digging deep into yourself and figuring out, you know, what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're passionate about, and, you know, just taking it from there and just creating a life for yourself. So again, I thank you all for joining me. And we'll just go around the room, and if each person wants to give a quick introduction, you know, who you are, you know, what you did professionally and kind of what you're doing now, we could start there. I guess I'll start with Dad, and then I want to go to Kim, and then we could go around the room from there. So, all right, take it away.
My name is Bill Costen, Balloon Man. I started out playing pro football with Buffalo Bills, and after everybody gets cut, well, I got cut. They sent me to Hartford, and then one day I got introduced to ballooning, and 40 years later I retired, and all that time I was developing a Black History traveling museum. So I currently take that around to different schools and companies.
All right. Okay.
Hi, my name is Kim Hampton, and my throat needs clearing. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, excuse me, let me hit the quiet button. No, but my name is Kim Hampton. I am a former WNBA player. I played with the New York Liberty. Prior to the WNBA starting, because there wasn't always professional basketball in America for women, I played 12 and a half years abroad, like 6 years in Spain, 4.5 years in Italy, a year in France, a year in Japan. Then they started the WNBA. And so I was drafted in the elite round with Rebecca Lobo to go to New York. And it was really cool because we were the pioneers of the league. But my career, I only played for 3 seasons of the WNBA because, again, I had already played 12 professionally. And, you know, and it's been a real interesting transition. You know, I still work in community relations with the team on a freelance basis. I still am an ambassador for the NBA, for the WNBA, and do things like that. But again, I think it's been very interesting. I have all of these other passions. Like I love speaking to kids, motivating kids, women, people that want to just be and do better in life. But I also sing. And so, and then I'm a plus size model and I've done a lot of that. So, but all of that, is still tough to transition into. So, that's where I'm at right now.
Right. Wow, that's wonderful. Awesome. I guess we could go around, well, on my screen, Etan.
Okay, all right. So my name is Etan Thomas. Played 11 years in the NBA, mostly with the Washington Wizards. And, towards the end of my career, I started doing a lot of writing about fatherhood, about my kids. And that's how me and Chantal met, because she interviewed me with BET with my fatherhood book. So I really started doing that a lot. It was interesting. When I was transitioning, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of different interests. I do a lot of speaking engagements, speaking to young people. I evolved a lot in politics. I write a lot. I write from different publications. But really, I really dove into the fatherhood thing for a little while. My kids were young. While I was playing, there was a lot of things that I missed from being on the road. Like I missed my son's first steps. You know what I mean? And there's just certain things that you just miss when you're playing. So I just really delved. I had no plans of coaching, but then I started coaching his AAU team. And then I started working out with my daughters with different sports. So they was doing, lacrosse. I know nothing about lacrosse, but you figure it out and you work out with your kids, right? And so I'm working with them with volleyball, and we're even still doing this now while we're, quarantined from the pandemic. So I really just delved into, just with the kids, because you blink your eye and they're older. You're like, wow, like you look at pictures from like 2 years ago, you're like, wow, you've changed a lot. So you those precious moments, you're trying to like slow down time to hopefully, you know what I mean? Like y'all growing up too fast. So that's really what I've mostly been doing since I've been retired.
Right. Yeah, that is, I just had a daughter 7 months ago. So I don't know how she turned 7 months already, but I blinked my eye and she is, she's a little adult. But yeah, no, I've interviewed I've interviewed a lot of people, and that's really a common denominator. It's like, can you have it all? A lot of people, have the career, but then maybe, they're not there as much as they would like to be, for the moments with their children, with your family. So, you're not the only one there, but I'm happy that at this point of your life, you're able to really, be there and do some of the things that they like doing and all of that. So yeah, awesome. Channing, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm Channing Crowder. I played for Miami Dolphins for 6 seasons, and then retired in 2011. While I was still playing, I started getting into the media, started having Friday night and Monday night radio shows, headed into our off day on Tuesday, because every time you walk in the locker room, they come and jam a camera in your face and a microphone and just get all that free work. So I said, listen, y'all been doing this to me since I was 18 years old. I'm gonna start trying to make a career out of this and do something with the media. So I got to the media, and now I have a #1 rated radio show in South Florida, podcast, I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall, Ocho Cinco, and Fred Taylor. And just kind of, same thing you do, try to just educate the people, educate our Black people, to be honest, and just kind of, we call it free game, give out free game, and just try to help people with life and different things I wasn't exposed to as a kid. I try to expose our young men and women to, and just try to help them out and mostly entertain. I MC events. I do a lot of different MCs with charities, and do a lot of charity events myself with the Boys and Girls Club. So really just giving back to the community and talking to people, helping people.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely very important. Awesome. Chris.
Yes, I'm Chris Baker. Played 9 years in the NFL as an undrafted free agent. Channing was my OG, my second year in the league down in Miami, man. So it's great to see you again, man. It's been a blessing to make it that long as an undrafted free agent. And I'm kind of like in the transition mode now. I haven't played in the last 3 years. I haven't officially retired. I still feel like I could still get out there and do it, but I think my days are over. I still just have to officially call it a quits. But right now, I've just been in I've been here in Connecticut. I've been running my trucking company. I have a logistics company here in Connecticut. And so for the last 3-4 years, I kind of just been collecting checks from the company, but I haven't really understood, how the company runs. So now that I'm not really playing ball, I really had a chance to come home and dive into my own company and just figure out the ins and outs of the logistics work. And it's been, a fun transition. I really enjoy working with the truckers, working with the people that I have working for me. It's been a great transition for me. So I've just been learning more and more every day, trying to build a lot of relationships with my former teammates. Because I know a lot of people in the sports world get into trucking. And so I'm just trying to build a big network and just do my thing. I have my foundation here in Connecticut. We primarily been doing football camps, and we've been promoting financial literacy. So I'm here for my community. I'm always around the kids. I wind up becoming a part-time workout coach with my godson, John. I went to just see him work out for just a couple of times. And then every time I went, like 5 more of his teammates came. Next thing you know, we had 30 kids working out. So I don't know. I may be in the coaching. I don't know. But
Awesome. That's awesome. And have you guys been able to continue that with COVID and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, thank God nothing seriously happened with any of the kids that had come and work out. Obviously it wasn't planned on having 20-30 kids come work out, but it wasn't like I was going to say, oh, go home, you know what I mean? So we just made it work. We provided Gatorade and food, just tried to keep as much social distance as we could to create a safe environment.
Awesome. Yeah, and Chris, we grew up in the same church, so from the same hometown. So yeah, definitely thank you for joining us. I've followed your career. I live in Maryland now, so I'm definitely a Redskins fan. So
Washington football team.
Washington football team, right? They played last night, and thank you for correcting.
Bro, 4 games in a row. They ain't did it since I was last there in 2016.
Awesome. So let's just dive into it. I'm really interested to just hear from each one of you. When you were at the height of your career, let's see, at the height of your career, what pretty much drove you? What were you into? What were you passionate about at the height of your career? And what is it that drives you now? And that may or may not look different from then to now. Maybe it's the same thing, or maybe it's changed. But over the years, what drove you then, and what are you most passionate about right now? And I guess we could just go in the same order.
Okay, the main thing that drove me in college, other than learning, was partying. I was the party king. I always loved watching people have fun. And naturally, as a pro football player, you see the crowds, you have your fans always having fun. Then when I got involved with ballooning, it was a different type of fun, because you saw millions of people coming to different balloon festivals, taking pictures, people wanting to go up for rides. And over a span of 40 years, I totally enjoyed watching people take their first ride in a hot air balloon. Half of the people were scared, but once they got up in the balloon and they saw how beautiful it was, and seeing all the God-giving, beauties that are out there, they just get mesmerized and they lose their fear. So over the years, just watching all the people enjoy themselves, that kept me going. Then after I retired from that, during my ballooning years, I was developing a Black history traveling museum. When I first went to Morris Brown in 1966, my uncle took me to lunch with Martin Luther King. And I came from Omaha, Nebraska, which was basically all white. So when I got to Atlanta and saw, I said, wow, look at all these Black people. And I just got a whole new life of developing and learning about Black people. And so I developed this Black History collection, which is now one of the largest traveling collections in the country. So during that collection, my passion was watching people enjoying the actual collection. And that's kept me going up until now. A couple of years ago, I got a stroke, and that knocked me down. And I'm, recuperating from that right now. But my passion right now is still helping people to learn about Black history that isn't in the history books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely important. And I mentioned doing a series of panel discussions. So one of our panel discussions is going to address that because in Connecticut in particular, they passed the bill that by 2022, they're mandating Black history in all of the schools. So, that's a huge step forward. And we are going to talk to the senator who worked on that bill in one of the other panels. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Kim?
I would have to say what motivated me, and that probably started back in high school. I didn't start playing organized sports until my freshman year of high school, but I developed so quickly and was like the best player in the state of Kentucky. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And, and I was just being recruited by a ton of schools. I realized, wow, I could see the world. This could be my way out. I just always wanted to travel, and I just always envisioned myself as being a star. And so I was like, yes, so I'm going to do this, and then I got to college, and then I was like, yes, okay. And then there was no professional basketball in America, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go abroad, and I'm going to just the WNBA started. And then we were really like rock stars when it started, because we got next, that campaign right there. And just all the celebrities, they just wanted to get to know us. They wanted to hang out with us. We had the opportunity to do so many things. And then it just allowed me to incorporate all of the things that I wanted to do in life. I always wanted to sing. I always wanted to model. I signed with Wilhelmina, and then I got to go around to schools and universities and women's events and all kinds of places. I mean, just all of the appearances. And it was just so wonderful. And that's how I envisioned my life. So that was what drove me and motivated me. And it's still, is somebody, is it a TV on or something? In the
I hear
background?
an echo. I
Yeah,
do hear it, though.
we should probably mute if we're not talking. Just
Yeah.
so you don't pick up that background.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's like a TV is on or something. I don't know. But anyway, and it'll make your project smoother as well, but sound better anyway. But those are the things that motivated me. And those are the things that still motivate me to today. I'm real passionate about all of that, and I still love doing it. I love the diversity of doing something different every day. I might get a call to say, hey, or I might have a gig or a singing gig or something like that. Or I might get a call, like I just just signed a contract to go and speak in China next year, and stuff. So just when cool things like that pop up, like I just love the diversity. I love to travel. I love to be around people. I love making people's day, like for me, it's really fun. Like some people come to me, oh my God, you're Kim Hampton, right? Oh my God, my husband was in love with you. And I was like, girl, call him. And then I'll be talking about, I said, Anthony, what's up? He's like, who is this? I said, Kim Hampton. You lying, and stuff, So I love doing crazy stuff like that, because I just believe that ultimately at the end of the day, everybody just wants to feel good, and stuff. So that's what continues to drive me.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. That must be interesting, because there was no WNBA before you started. So yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit later, but thank you for that. Etan?
So what always drove me was, somebody telling me that I couldn't do something. And that was always that's just the way that my mom instilled that in me from a younger time. She was like, you're supposed to have people that tell you that you can't do something. And that's supposed to push you, because, when you're younger, like, they don't, they're saying I'm not good. And my mom would always say, well, they talk bad about Jesus. You think they're not going to talk bad about you too? That was like my mom's go-to saying. I'm like, okay, well, if you put it like that. So my whole career, even playing, I'm playing it in high school, and they're like, okay, you're doing good, but you should probably, go to a school around Oklahoma. Everybody wanted me to go to OU, and I went all the way to Syracuse. They're like, oh, that's maybe too much for you. You might need to stay here. And then I didn't play much my freshman year. You know what I mean? I wasn't like an instant star. So then the haters came after that. Then going into the league, like, okay, you're doing well on this level, but the league might be a little bit much. You're kind of undersized. I'm 6'9", but I played center. Most centers are 7 feet. So they're like, yeah, but so I just had to overcome that. Then, having heart surgery. I had open heart surgery. Saw the papers, the media was like, you're probably not going to be able to come back, going to be finished. And so every point of my career, that was really what drove me. Now, in transition of what I'm doing now, as far as the speaking and the writing, even going back from being in high school, that part was always, because I like speech and debate. And they were like, okay, you're a basketball player, but you may need to kind of stay in your lanes, speech and debate. And we were winning state championships in speech and debate and basketball. So I kind of just kept doing it as far as the writing, as far as the speaking. So when I talk with young people now, I repeat the same messages that my mother told me, that you're supposed to have haters. You're supposed to have people that tell you that you can't do something, and that's supposed to push you and drive you even more to prove them wrong. Like if you don't have any haters, that means that you ain't doing nothing all that serious. And so, and when I say that with young people, they're like, I never thought of it like that. So it's just continuing what my mom really instilled in me from a young age. So that's what drives me.
No, that's definitely a good outlook. My husband is the same way. He's definitely driven by people telling him no. I'm not that way. I'm like, I get no all the time. So you just have to ask 100 different people, 100 different things, and maybe 2 things will come through. But yeah, no, a lot of people are driven by haters. So, all right, Channing.
Yeah, well, like Etan just said, it was kind of the same way, but I called it other people's doubt. I went to a small high school, so we won. Our best record was 2-8. We were Usher Raymond and Raven Simone went to my high school in Atlanta, North Springs. So nobody even looked at us as a football team, athletic program. So when I started getting scholarships, people were like, oh man, University of Florida, Georgia, you're not that good. I said, okay. So that doubt got me going. And then I tear my ACL as a sophomore. And while I'm rehabbing one ACL, I tear the other ACL. So now I'm double ACL recovery as a sophomore, lose all my scholarships, all my attention. So then I missed my sophomore year, going to my junior year, come back and, I'm working out, I'm okay. Start getting a little more attention and all. Then dislocate my shoulder, play through that. So it was just always these speed bumps that got in my way. But whenever I got back on the field, I would ball out. So you get back on the field, start balling out. I started getting scholarships after high school. I ended up going to Florida. I remember Miss Benning. I remember her name because that's how much it drove me. She told me, yeah, you should really worry about school because you're not good enough. I don't know why you're going to UF. And this is a biology teacher. So she tells me, just people like that through my life, just others' doubt kind of motivated me. And Bill, if you were a partying in college, I think I might have had you because that's what I got the UF. And I went crazy, got locked up a couple of times. Just fighting fracks and all. They doing their little steps through the club and you pushed me in my back. And I was a hothead back then. So then going to the league, I got in trouble, had, another Liz Frank in college. So I was kind of injury prone. And I had the character issues because of the arrest. So then I was rated in the first round, all the Mel Kuypers and all, and I had to go to the 3rd round. So that motivated me because now there was 32 teams that passed on me twice. So that doubt motivated me as well. And I just kept pushing forward because I just had to prove to the world, in my mind, I know it's not that serious, but I wanted to prove to the world that I could play at a high level and play right out there with all the other great ball players. And then after my retirement, man, I met my wife, Asia. We had our first child. We have 3 now, but that was it. That was my family, even to this day. Like I get up, I do the radio, I go coach, I do everything. I do it for my kids so that they can see, they see daddy grinding, mommy grinding, all the real estate we do. And then on the outside of it, like I was talking about the charities earlier, really representation. Like, there's a certain way, way the world kind of like trying to push you in a direction where a big black dude with, a beard, dreads, tattoo from his neck all the way down to his ankles, like I can be a CEO, I can, be a public speaker, I can MC events, I can coach a team to a state championship like I did last week. Like, and I see the kids looking to me like, you know, he looks just like me. He looks just like, you know, he looks different than my old coaches, different than my old teachers. And he's still spitting some real stuff. So really, yeah, the representation are for the world, but just the grind to get up every day is my 3 babies and my wife, man. It's nothing better in the world. You know, Etan was talking about it earlier, man. It's nothing better in the world to see your kids run up and jump on you and just know you're doing good and know that, you know, you got something to pass down to them.
And congratulations, you just had a child. What was it, 2 months ago?
6. Little Chaz
6 months ago. See, time flies. I don't know how my daughter turned 7 months, 6 months. Wow. Yeah, Ace is a really good friend of mine. And you guys fish. Me and my dad go fishing all the time. So I see your videos of you, you know, doing, I love fishing. And the only time I get to do it is when I go to Connecticut, because my husband doesn't like fishing. So I might come down there with y'all at some point.
Oh, come on down.
Oh.
I'll put you on them. I got some spots.
Okay. All right, Chris.
I've kind of always been like a people pleaser. I've always loved to be around people, always loved to, you know, make people laugh and just have a good time. When I was in high school, I had no plans of playing football. I was 6 feet at 10 years old with a full-grown mustache and a deep voice. And I thought I was going to be the next Shaquille O'Neal. So basketball was all I talked about, all I played until my junior year when I was probably at my max height at 6'2" and a half, 6'3". And I was like, I can't be a 6'3" power forward in the NBA. So let me try this football thing out. And my best friend, a lot of you guys may know him, Terrence Knight in Big Pot Roast. He convinced me to go out and play football that spring. And I went out there and just had a ball, man. I was playing offensive tackle and defensive end. Really didn't know how to get into a good stance, but I was stronger and faster than everybody in Connecticut. So, you know, I started getting all these college scholarships. And I'm like, I don't have any scholarships for basketball. I think football is going to be the way. And so kind of like Channing, you know, I went to Penn State, started partying, getting into trouble, and I wound up getting kicked out of Penn State and then going to Hampton. And then when it was time for the draft, you know, I had the high draft grades. I was rated to go in late first round, maybe the second round, and then wound up going undrafted. So I had a big draft party here in Connecticut, man. I cried. You know, it was hurtful because, you know, I'm thinking I'm about to get drafted early and I wound up going undrafted. But being undrafted was like I feel like it saved my career and extended my career because it made me work so much harder because I always had to prove myself, especially being in inside the NFL. If you're an undrafted free agent, they're looking for ways to get rid of you. So I always had to be on my P's and Q's, and I always had to try and stay as healthy as I could so I could get an opportunity. And every time I got my opportunity, I just ran with it. You know, especially my time in Washington, you know, I had such a great time and always had to try to find an extra way to like stand out. Cause it's like, I felt like no matter how many plays I made, the coaches always still treated me as this undrafted sorry guy. And I was like, bro, I'm nice. You know what I'm saying? Just give me an opportunity. And then when I got to Washington, you know, I finally got that break that I needed. And every time I made a tackle, every time I made a sack, you know, I had to let everybody know it was me who did it. So, you know, I got up dancing and everybody knew, you know, when Baker's out there, he gonna give it his all and he gonna dance and have fun. And so I kind of got known for that. And it's been, you know, 9 years went by so fast, you know what I mean? But I've always been motivated just to have other people around me like me. I always wanted to, you know, be friends with the fans, with the media. You know, that's just me. I kind of like been like the big teddy bear in a sense, you know what I mean? But that's just what I like to do. People motivate me. I love to be around people. You know, doing the media stuff was hard for some people, but for me, you know, I had fun with it. You know, I love talking to the media. I love doing the radio. People always said I had a face for radio, so I was like, hey, this is perfect.
Oh my goodness. All right. So Dad, let's start with you. So, you know, growing up, you know, when people are playing football, you're just instilled with certain things. And even throughout college, I mean, you were playing with a broken wrist. Your wrist was broken and you would just wrap it every day because you wanted to get drafted and you didn't want anyone to know about it. So talk about, you know, just some of the things that were instilled in you playing football and how that kind of spilled over to other aspects of your life, just your work ethic. Oh, come off mute, Dad.
Okay, my past in Omaha, I played 2 years of football in high school, and my total playing time in high school was 1 minute. We had the worst high school in Nebraska. Our 2 years, I think we won 2 games out of 20 games in 2 years. I used to sit on the bench and just watch them, you know, be terrible. So I never thought I would be a football player. And like Chris was saying, I used to be a basketball player. I was a basketball star ever since I was a little kid. But I ended up being, when I graduated from high school, I was 6'5", 275. So I never saw Charles Barkley play. So I never thought I could play basketball. So, and then I didn't play 2 years sitting on the bench. I went to University of Nebraska 1 year and I was ineligible to play football. So I didn't play football at all while at Nebraska, and only stayed there 1 year and transferred down to Morris Brown. And I wasn't going to play, you know, football at Morris Brown either because I hadn't really had any experience. And my roommate said, "You're too big not to play football." So I tried out for the team and I made it. And I said, wow. And very first scrimmage that we had in football, I had a scout come up to me from Dallas Cowboys. And I said, wow, Dallas Cowboys looking at me, and he timed me in a 40. I ran a 4.7 40. And he said, wow. And I was 280 pounds then. So my motivation at that time was to get a free scholarship to Morris Brown. So that was my motivator for playing at Morris Brown, to get a full scholarship, which I earned my junior year. So one thing I learned about playing football was discipline. You have to have discipline. You have to be part of a teamwork. A lot of people, you know, who are golfers or whatever, they're single sports, but you had to play with a team. So I got that discipline of playing with the team. I got the discipline of playing in pain. Like I said, I broke my wrist in college, but I couldn't tell anybody because I wanted to get drafted. And so I wrapped on my wrist each game and didn't tell anybody about it. So I got drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and my motivation there was to, I was always trying to please my dad. Me and my dad were close all my life, and I did everything. My motivator my whole life was my dad. And I always pleased my dad, you know, from becoming an Eagle Scout to being drafted by the Buffalo Bills. And the very first game at Buffalo, we were playing against the New York Jets. I was on the opening kickoff, and I said, I hope my dad's watching this game, because in high school, he was at one game and I got in the game for 1 minute. So he really never saw me play football. So I was hoping he was watching the game, and I scored the opening kickoff tackle on the kickoff. And I said, wow, I hope he saw that. And toward the end of the game, we were losing by 20 points. And my roommate blocked the punt, and I picked up the punt and ran 22 yards for a touchdown. I said, wow, I said, a touchdown. And I ran off the field, you know, getting skinned and all happy. I said, oh, I hope my dad saw that. You know, I scored the only touchdown for the Buffalo Bills. And so come to find out, he never did see the game. And then, like I say, leaving football and being introduced to hot air ballooning, which was a fluke. I'd never seen a hot air balloon, and 6 guys, they said, let's get together and form a club. So we got together, bought a balloon, and I didn't even know what a balloon did until I first saw it the day we bought it. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I started seeing people all excited when we landed in people's yards. And one time we flew over a little league football game, and they just stopped the whole game to watch us, you know, fly over the game. We landed on the other side of the field, and they were all excited and jumping up and down. So it was a real fun sport. So that's what kept me motivated, you know, during ballooning. And in all the years I've flown balloons all over the country. I was fortunate enough to meet the man who started hot air ballooning early in my ballooning career. And the guy who signed me on as a dealer for the manufacturer, he saw the opportunity how he can promote the ballooning through having an ex-NFL player turn balloonist. So he was shipping me all over the country, flying in different balloon races. We used to race balloons. And that's where I got my experience racing balloons. And a race is one balloon would take off, fly away, and then land. And whoever can land closest to that balloon would win. So that's how I got good racing against the best in the sports of ballooning. So over the years, you know, I became better and better, but people always wanted to go up for balloon rides. So I got my commercial license where I was able to take people up for rides for their enjoyment. So people would get birthday gifts and wedding gifts and everything going for rides. So that kept me going. And like I said, I was always into Black history. So in my off time when I wasn't flying the balloon, I would collect different sports memorabilia, different Black history items, historic items, and I turned that into a traveling museum. And I took it all over the state of Connecticut.
Is that a house phone? We know that's you, Dad. I don't have a house phone anymore. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for that. So Kim, you ended up retiring due to cartilage in your knee. So what was that like? Were you really prepared for that transition in your life? And you know, how did you transition out of basketball into, you know, something else that you had a passion for?
Right. No, it was really tough. Actually, I was going to retire. I did, you know, I said I was going to retire after the 3rd season because my knee was just hurting so bad because I had severely worn cartilage behind my kneecap. But I had the surgery, you know, and everything, and I recuperated so fast, you know, and I could run. I mean, just everything. And I was like, oh man. So my teammates were like, come on, guys, you know, let's just try this one more time. Kim, we need you. Just come on, play this year. Let's try to go for that championship, just one more time, you know, because we went and lost the championship 2 times prior, you know. So I said, okay, I'm gonna play. The 3rd day into training camp, I came in, my knee looked like a watermelon. And so, you know, it was just because of the grueling, you know, just the long hours. And so the doctor was like, you know, I mean, I can have you back in 6 weeks, but the same thing's going to happen because in a WNBA season, you only have, I think it's like probably like a 8-month season thrown into 4 months. And that's if you get into the playoffs and all of that, you know, so it's a very short season, but it's very compact. So a lot of games during the week, a lot of flying and things like that. So I ended up you know, I just had to retire, you know, and everything. And so in order for me to get paid, and this is just how whack and weak the WNBA, I can remember our first collective bargaining agreement after the season, we didn't even have insurance. But in order for me to continue to get paid, the team had to cut me. That's, what the league said. So the team cut me. And then they were like, God, we don't want anyone trying to pick her up. It was just a mess. So it was very hard for me because it was just like one day I was playing and then the next day it was over. So, and I mean, I was just like, oh my God, I would go to the games and I'm talking to my teammates and I'm coaching and telling them what to do, like I would do on the court. And it was just tough. Like, what do I do with all of this time now? Like, what am I going to do? It was just so hard. And you have all of these dreams and hopes and stuff that you want to do. But now when you're by yourself, it's kind of like, oh God, I don't have the NBA sending me, or, oh God, I don't have, I have to go and talk to these people and solicit myself as a speaker. And I have to do all of this, hit the ground running. And one of the, also another, well, I think one of the disadvantages for us, because when we got out of college, there was no professional basketball in America for women, that gap, a 12-year gap of playing abroad, I really didn't have any business connections. I didn't have those type of relationships, that were set in stone. And then when you're playing, I think you kind of get caught up in, that this is what it's going to be like forever. When money flows, you're spending, because you feel like this is going to happen. So we didn't have, a lot of us, and I mean, a lot of the players that came from abroad, and played in the league and had to retire. A lot of us, we were living in the moment. We didn't say, okay, I need to secure this. I need to secure that. I need to secure this and that and that. And so that's one of the things that I also talk to players now. Talk about your legacy and talk about, just planting those seeds for the things that you want to do life after basketball, building and creating those relationships. And so it was tough. I mean, tough. I said I was just like a functioning depressed person, I feel like, for 15 years, so yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to ask about that because I know you still are affiliated and you speak to different folks. Like, what's really some of the advice that you have, especially, being a woman playing this sport? What advice do you have just to kind of prepare mentally, physically? Because, I mean, my dad could speak to it, all the injuries, that broken wrist. I know he can feel it right now. So, what kind of advice do you have for young women, who are pretty much following in your footsteps once the jersey's retired and you have to kind of move on with your life?
Yeah, it's basically that. Just I think it's basically just figuring out what it is you want to do, because a lot of times we just get caught up into life and we just kind of end up going, with the flow and the way life, takes us. How many times do you sit down and say, this is what I want to do. I want to do this, and I want to do that. So I just believe it's so important to have a plan, because at least you can work your plan. If you say, I want to be a writer, that you're going to be writing, and then, well, let me reach out to this publication and see if I can get a piece in it, or let me just try to write a book, or let me co-write my first book, or something. So kind of have an idea of what it is that you want to do. And then while you're playing, it's a great time because people want, athletes around them. So it's a great time to get some internship work in, to even test the waters, just to see what it is that if you think you want to do it, because you might get it on a daily basis, but like, oh no, this is not what I want to do on a daily basis. You think about all those people that go to college, get all these law degrees because they think you're going to make money, and then they're miserable and end up doing something completely off the cuff. So I just say, try out different things that you want to do and build relationships. Everything is about relationships, because nobody remembers, how awesome you were on the field or on the court, or, they forget so fast, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So I feel like those are the things that are important. You have to learn how to communicate with people. So communication, knowing what you want to do, and building great relationships. I think those are just, some of the things that you just, that can just help your life and help the transition be a lot smoother.
Right. Yeah. And that goes with any sport, any profession. Relationships are everything. And I totally agree. I've done so many internships, you know, through college, and I realized what I didn't want to do. So that way, once I, you know, graduate, I could just really hit the ground running in the direction. Because I started out as a biology major. I wanted to be a doctor. And then I ended up being a producer and in TV and all of that. So yeah, definitely trial and error. No one has the answers. And, you know, I think as you continue to grow and continue to age and mature, things change. You know, stuff that you were passionate about at one point, you may not be passionate about now. So absolutely. So Etan, let's go to you. You have used your voice and your platform, you know, for so long. You know, I remember interviewing you on your book, Fatherhood. You know, you started even before your career with basketball ended. You wrote the book More Than an Athlete, and now you're on your 5th and 6th books that are going to release. I know one of them is on racism. Just talk about, you know, what you're working on now and just the importance of, you know, athletes kind of using their voice and their platform to have a seat at the table and really, you know, talk about these issues, the difficult issues that are going on in our country and world today.
Well, it's definitely a blessing to have that platform. You know, the athletes I grew up admiring were the athletes like, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali. And those are the athletes that my mother just used to feed me their books, like read this book. And I was just like, oh, wow. They do, you know, I was just amazed at it. And so, you know, when it's interesting because when you're right now, it's cool to be socially aware and to speak out. You know, when I was playing, it wasn't really cool. It really wasn't the trend. It wasn't popular, anything. You know, I remember when I spoke out about the war in Iraq and I'm sitting here playing in DC, and yeah, it wasn't there weren't many people speaking out like athletes. It was just a different time. And I think that now what I love about this younger generation, they're realizing their power, especially now since they have social media. So they don't have to do like we did and go through a reporter that doesn't like your opinion anyway, and then you know, rely on them to relay your message to the world. They could go on their own platform. It's like I always say, imagine if like Muhammad Ali had a Twitter account. You know what I mean? Like imagine what he could have done. So now you see these young cats now, and they're using their platforms, and it's great. And that's why I just want to keep, you know, why I wrote my latest book, We Matter, Athletes and Activism. It's really about encouraging them to keep using their voices, to continue on this pattern. And so now I've been doing a lot of work with family members of victims of police brutality. So like one of the books that I'm doing is Emerald Garner, who is Eric Garner's daughter, her book. So I'm writing her book with her. And, you know, I've been, you know, working with her since everything kind of first happened with her father. And the thing with athletes is we have a platform to be able to elevate other people's voices. So sometimes, you know, I was going on CNN, I call Emerald, hey, come on CNN with me, because I know that she wants to get her when she was trying to get Pantaleo, which is the officer that killed her father, fired, and she wants to talk about it and everything like that. And, you know, same thing with, you know, Tiffany Crutcher in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who's Terrence Crutcher's sister, and Lana Castile's his mother, and the plant. So really elevating their voices. And that's just something that I've been passionate about doing, because, you know, you see these things happen all the time, and you see people in the country be outraged for a moment, and then the story kind of dies down and everybody moves on, but the people are still sitting there with their lost loved one, and they have to pick up the pieces of their lives. And I just really wanted to join them in their fight, whether it is to get their police officer arrested or even charged, or, you know, something. And it's just, the more you got into it, the more I got into it, the more frustrated I got with the system. I'm like, wow, this is, the conviction rate of police officers is low. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at all these different things. So I'm like, okay, so I can help. And I'm not, you know, I wasn't like a LeBron level athlete, but I could use the platform that I do have to continue to push this message along and push Fight for Justice, connect with different organizers and community organizers. And you know what I mean? activists and kind of combine and try to push their message and push along. So that's something else that I've gotten really passionate about doing.
At what point did you realize that you had this responsibility? Was it before you ended, or how did you transition out, when you realized that, you weren't going to be doing basketball anymore? Did you already have this and know this is what you wanted to do? Or at what point did you just find that responsibility to speak up?
Well, this kind of started for me at a young age, like back in middle school, high school. So as I said, I was in speech and debate. So I used to write speeches and original oratories and, debate different topics of police brutality and racism and, affirmative action and things of that nature. And that started because when I was in middle school, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so that kind of opened up everything for my eyes. And at that point, I wanted to write speeches like Malcolm and talk about, topics like that, like Malcolm, and do things like that. And so that's when I got into speech and debate. And the speech and debate was really where I found my voice. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting a lot of attention because I played basketball and we were winning state championships. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't just playing, we were good. So they were like, wait, so this cat is winning championships and then going to a speech debate tournament the next day? Like, what's going on? So people were kind of like, that they weren't really used to seeing anything like that. But then I started to see the attention that it got because I was a basketball player who was speaking on this topic. And then it was like the light bulb came out. I was like, oh, so they hear me because I play basketball. And then I would have other people say, hey, thanks for speaking out, because they would get press coverage. And they would say, thanks for speaking out on that. That stuff happens all the time, but ain't nobody listening to us. So then that's when I made the connection. So I just kind of kept doing it throughout my entire career.
Awesome. All right. Well, Channing, I've had the pleasure of following your podcast. And one episode that particularly stood out to me, season 2, episode 3, what defines an athlete out of sports? And you mentioned, the football field was a place where you can really just be in control. If nothing else in your life was in control, you can get on that field and just take control of the situation. So, to what extent did you feel at the time football defined you? And in your experience, speaking to other players, does football really define you? And at what point did you realize, there was something else deep within that, that you're good at and that you're passionate about and that you can kind of take to the next level?
Yeah, it does define you. I think a lot of athletes, because it gives you that recognition, like everybody was talking about. People come to you at the grocery store, and even college. The college teams are so big, they're so popular now, billion dollar organizations. So you get that fame, and it's because of this sport. So I would say, I got lost in it for a while, especially as a younger player, because it does define you. And coming up, single family home, living in not the nicest part of Atlanta, and just not really having control, having a mom that's raising 3 kids. So you just kind of, I guess, caught in the system. And then you can walk on this field and have thousands of people screaming for you. Go out there and knock somebody's helmet off and everybody's jumping up on you. So it gives you gratification. And then, a lot of athletes get caught up in that, where I'm a ball player. So with the transition, I think that's why a lot of guys have trouble getting off the field and doing something, because there's so much that comes with the success. There's money, there's fame, there's so much, gratification for yourself and others putting you on this pedestal that, like Etan was saying, like, where your voice means something. Why are they asking me, how do I feel about this? Because you can tackle, because you can catch, because you can run faster than most people. So it defines you to others. So it makes you define yourself as that, if you get caught up in it. And just, having a good, I guess, surrounding a good circle of people is what helped me out with my friends from college, my mom, my cousins, my sisters, they would kind of keep me grounded. But that identity of just trying to be, I do a thing with my kid now, call and response with my 2 older kids, where I say, you want to be good? No, I want to be great. You want to be normal? No, I want to be special. And like, I make them say that because just, an average person, like when, I guess I was at Florida the first time I kind of thought that way, where we're all running hundreds, gassers and conditioning. And I kind of look at it, it's 6:30 a.m. And I look over and it's 100 guys, on a college team, 80 scholarship players, a bunch of walk-ons, and there's 100 guys making times. And I thought to myself, if 100 people can do it, that's not special. Like, that's just normal stuff. And so then just to outwork them. So if we ran 18, I'd run 36. If we ran 20, I'd run 40. I'd always double just because I thought if 100 people can do this, it's not special. And then you can, raise yourself, raise your reach to people and all that with just hard work. And then once you grind and work that hard and then the success comes, then to your point where now it is you, because that's where you've worked so hard and got up so early in the morning to do. So I do believe that's why a lot of guys and ladies, Kim, love you on the court, but a lot of athletes have trouble transitioning because of the fact that think about it, from 16, we're not just talking about pros. I'm talking about from 16, 15, and now you play into your, mid 20s, late 20s. So you're talking about, 15, 20 years of this being your only focus. Mm-hmm. And now how am I going to get away from that? What else is going to make me feel that way? That's why I think a lot of athletes gamble, because you get that rush to win. You get that rush to be the winner. Why a lot of guys, do drugs and drink a lot of stuff, because they're trying to take their mind off not having that high of being that, superhero, really, that Superman or woman on the court, on the field. And it gets caught up. And like I said, I think the best thing is to have a circle around you that can ground you. Because I have, no new friends. Drake says that. I have some new friends, but I have to have my dudes that when I got to Florida and I was just this young guy coming off a knee injury, nobody knew my name yet in Gainesville or in the real football world. We were going out and, splitting the bill at a little chicken wing place. So I got them still. So whenever I did throughout my playing time, and it happened a couple times where my dude T and Jay and Jarvis and Brian Crum and my brother Delshawn, they would really sit me down and be like, bro, you get a little too big for yourself. You need to take it easy. You ain't the same dude you was at 18. You acting crazy. Got your little new contract. Hey man, why are you trying to spend $2,000 in the club? We don't do that. We walk, we pay at the door, we walk in, we stand by the bar and get a couple drinks. We don't get no sexes. What are you doing? So I had a circle of people that took me off and said, this is you. That's not you. And I think that's the main thing about that identity and, just getting caught up in it, is that have real people that care about you, and that the no man, the people that gonna come and not tell you you're great, tell you, bro, you the same dude that was sitting there with, splitting a chicken wing bill back in the day. I want you to be that same guy.
When you get to the NFL and you see guys making $300,000, $400,000 a week, you have to think about the financial side of what this can do for you and your family. Bro, it has to be a mind change when you hit that league and these owners are giving you $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a week, and you're still not thinking about money. I think you are doing a disservice to yourself if you don't put money involved.
Because it's a business, but it ain't about, it's about competing, but it's a business.
You have people that have never been where you are. Like even when my dad played in the NFL, his highest salary ever was $100,000. When I got in the league, they gave me $600,000 check the day I walked in the door. My mom's never seen $600,000. So like, they're gonna give me advice from really an unknowledgeable place. So do I take that advice? Because me and you are both coming into this money at the same time. So I know you're older, but you don't know what to do with it. So that's when I think in the league where I got my attorneys, my financial advisor, my business managers, and really talking to the OGs. And like Bake said, when Bake comes in, you got to find you some OGs to really talk to. So talking to the older players that know what's going on, that's been through it, is what helped me out the most. My guys were Junior Seau, Zach Thomas, Joey Porter. Like my OGs, they helped me out to get that circle of professionals, like you're saying, the people that know about the money, the CPAs, so you don't get audited, which I did before I got smart. I got audited 3 years in a row. And that is hell. So get with my older players. So when I did get out, I already had that circle of friends, the old friends, the people that's gonna ground you, and that circle of professionals to ask about business ventures, ask about, real estate. Any venture I have now, I put it through 3 or 4 people to get everybody's opinion. My homeboys and my attorney and my financial advisor and all them, just to get a bunch of smart decisions, a bunch of intelligent people thinking on the same topic. But I would say the successful guys, in my opinion, that would have to happen during your career. After your career, I think a lot of people, the depression and the emotion takes over, and it's a lot tougher. Like Kim was saying, people love you when you play. They do anything for you. You can walk into any business, any restaurant, skip the line. You retired 3-4 years, they might start forgetting you, or as a young kid that didn't watch you, they don't know who you are. You just a tall dude. Go to the back of the line, sir. So I think to take advantage of that playing career is big to transition easily and have that circle of friends and that circle of professionals.
Right. Yeah. No, you guys definitely covered that in one of your episodes, talking about financial literacy and that, NFL, it's a business. Like, yeah, we're out here, we're being competitive, we're making money, but it's a business and you have to treat it as such. You have to like educate yourself, get the right people on your side. So you're, planning early for retirement. All right, so let's move on. Last but not least, Chris. So you sat on a panel not too long ago with Congressman Mark Walker, and you guys were discussing the Student Athlete Equity Act. Talk a little bit about that. Just, I guess, standing up for students, with their name and likeness, and just making sure that you're fighting for them, especially, within NCAA and, these different organizations. A lot of times, students don't have a voice. They sign up because this is the way that, you become successful. This is the way you get to the league. So talk about those efforts and what you did with that.
Yeah, man, that was a great opportunity to go out there and talk, on the behalf of young athletes. Not too many people understand what it takes to be a Division I athlete. It's really a full-time job. And then we look at this new age of social media. These guys are coming into college super popular. And why not be able to use your name and likeness to make a few dollars? The NCAA has made it so hard on us athletes to do anything without it being a violation. It's like you can help fill a stadium with 100,000 people, but then get in trouble for getting a steak dinner after that. And that shouldn't be, It's so many people coming from inner city areas, very poor. I had a lot of poor teammates, and the only thing they had was Pell Grant, And as soon as that Pell Grant went out, they couldn't call home and ask mom for $100, for $200 just for essentials. You know what I mean? And if you're that popular and you have the ability to make a couple of dollars off your name and likeness, why not? You know what I mean? Like, all these coaches are getting paid buku money. The universities are making buku money off of your name and likeness. So, if we have an opportunity just to get a little bit of that pie, a piece of that pie, why not? You know what I mean? It's not going to hurt us. I think you do have to have some type of regulations, because that thing could get, out of control. When you talk about agents and high school players, it's going to get crazy. You know what I mean? So there has to be some type of stipulations. But, I did feel it was important for them to make some type of changes, and for our kids to be able to make a couple dollars off their jerseys, make a couple dollars off of Instagram or whatever that platform is. It's ridiculous that you could have 1 million followers and get paid for putting a video on your Instagram, and then that be an NCAA violation. Like, how? Like, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? So I was glad I was able to speak on that panel and kind of give my opinions, because, I had a roommate. He was a foster kid, and if I got into trouble or if I needed some extra funds, I was glad I was able to call my mom and dad to give me $100 for the month. You know what I mean? But he ain't have no mom and dad to call. And being that you don't really know anything about money, once you got that Pell Grant, he went shopping, got some clothes, and the next thing you know, he down to his last couple $100, and that got to last the rest of the semester. And so he just stuck, just trying to survive. You know what I mean? We basically just survive off the training table and getting all the free equipment that we could get, and just wear our Penn State issue stuff all the time. You know what I mean? So I felt that it was important for our athletes to be able just to make a couple dollars off their name and likeness. But obviously there has to be some type of stipulations, because that's going to get kind of wild. You're going to have a student athlete getting paid $1 million in college, and it's like, what do you tell this kid now? You know what I mean? So, but it was a great discussion. I think they passed the rule to in California to have kids be able to make some money off their name and likeness. and hopefully it goes around the whole country, and it's great for us.
Question. I have a question with that, Chris. Is that okay, Chantal?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you guys ever thought about also, I understand that you can't pay all athletes, and all athletes aren't at the same level, maybe, you know, like as the superstars, you know, and things like that. But what about also maybe giving students, you know, student athletes opportunity to get their master's and their doctorate, you know, just like leaving that open for them, because that could take them further maybe in life than that little piece of change or something like that. But the school, just university, just, you have the classes going anyway. Why can't they sit in and take their class and get their master's or become a doctor, you know, or get their doctorate, you know, at that school? Because that is invaluable. Think about how much that would cost you out of pocket too.
Oh, without a question, that would be a great suggestion to bring up, because education is key no matter what industry that you're in. So I think that would be a great ideal moving forward for those people to discuss. Instead of just getting money, you get another free education. But in the NBA, or the guys who play basketball, a lot of these guys are one and done. I don't even think they're even thinking about graduating college, let alone doing a master's program, especially if you're at that level, you know what I mean? But hopefully these guys could think further down the line and be like, hey, this would benefit me here and there. But it just depends on your situation. Some guys know they're going to go to college and go there for 4 years. Some guys know that they're going to do their whole 4 years and then go back and get their master's. Like, some guys know that, and some guys know, hey, I'm here for a semester and I'm getting out of here. So it just depends on that individual and what they plan on doing with their life.
Can I jump in? Because I just think that the education of young athletes, I think we need to do a much better job of preparing them and telling them the truth as far as what is happening. I remember when I was in high school reading the Fab Five book. And that's what opened my eyes to the exploitation that happened in college athletics. Before, I didn't think about it really. You know what I mean? You're playing and, I know you got the scholarship, you get all the gear, like you said, you seem like you're doing good. But when I heard the Fab Five talking about like, okay, we see our jerseys being sold all over the place and we reach in our pocket and we don't have enough money to take a girl on a date. You know what I mean? Something's not right here. And so that started me thinking. But I think a lot of times young people, especially now, they're thinking a little bit differently because they're a different social media age. So they're thinking of ways they can monetize different things. So these young cats in high school, they have 1 million followers when they're in high school. And they're thinking about ways to get sponsorship for it and monetize. That's why it's great that they passed that rule. But I think they need to go even a step further. I think athletes in general, even high school, starting in high school, need to take at least basic business courses. That's what I think. And then in college, definitely. So if you're going to be one and done, don't just have them taking any kind of nothing that they're not going to use. Have them taking stuff that can actually benefit them. Accounting. And that not meaning they have to take advanced accounting to be an accountant, but just basic accounting, basic finance, basic investments. Entrepreneurship, all those different things. And I think with the guidance, it's interesting talking about the NCAA. And I'm not going to go off a tangent, I promise. But when you're talking about the education of the school system and then the NCAA, it's like we have to have two sets of education. And my mom taught me that when I was younger. I would have one set of education. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we weren't having no Black history. You know what I mean? But my mom taught me Black history at home and prepared me for what they didn't teach me there. So then I was always asking questions about, okay, why am I not learning about this? I need to learn about this. Why don't you want me to learn about this? And it's that kind of teaching of young people now, like they have to know that colleges and sports are going to look to chew them up and spit them out. Like that's the way I think we need to approach them in the beginning. Listen, you're on borrowed time. They're going to try to use you for the time that they can, no matter how much they smile at you, no matter how much they say you're a part of the family and all this different stuff, invite you to their house and the coach and to eat with their kids. When you're finished playing, stuff changes, and to start preparing early. And I think that's a major thing. And a lot of times people won't get that message. People have different situations. They're not getting it. Maybe that message is home. Maybe they're learning just, okay, this is your meal ticket. Now make it work and only focus on this and don't even worry about academics or anything like that. So we got to figure out how within being able to have them benefit from their likeness and everything like that. Also prepare them for what else they're going to be coming up against while they're playing and then after they're playing.
Did you guys know that T.I. is actually a college professor now? He's teaching a class. I think it might be like Trapology 101 or something like that, and it's because I was listening because he had a new album that came out and he did it with his sons. Like one of his sons is a producer or he creates beats or whatever. And then the other son raps. And he said, and it motivated, the work was so good that it motivated him to want to get on it. So he did I think he did a song on the album or something, but somehow he collaborated. But then they started talking about all of that. And I believe that is so true. Like the classes, like, what do you call them? What are the general classes that you have to take? I forgot. Electives. Yes. Thank you. I couldn't think of that. Yeah. The electives. I really believe that you're right, that kids need to have stuff that is going to matter. Like the classes, like, if I have to take accounting, teach me accounting that, that I can use, or if I have to, learn about something, whatever. Yeah. Because I think the courses are they're like dummy courses. Like we're just going to have you take this just to take it. And you're never ever going to use it again in life. I think all universities, they need to just like really rethink what it is that they're doing and what they're teaching.
I agree.
Absolutely. I've taken many courses that I don't use today, but some of those basic fundamentals, mainly the business courses, accounting, marketing, all of that I'm using on a daily basis. So yeah.
That's like, I think that's a great idea because, being like I was an undrafted free agent. So I didn't really get, a huge signing bonus. But when I got into the league, I really knew nothing about finances. I knew nothing about taxes. You know what I mean? So when they told me I made $350,000, I thought I made $350,000. So, I was out there spending crazy. Chantal can tell you, man, if you spend all your money during the season, that off season is so long. And so many veterans kept trying to tell me, yo, save your money during the season because the off season long. And I'm like, yeah, I'm saving something, but I ain't saving all this, you know what I'm saying? I was going out partying, I was buying whatever clothes I wanted. And then come June, July, I was down to my last $5,000. Like, I gotta make this team so I could pay my car notes, so I could pay my rent, you know what I mean? That happened to me like my first 2-3 years, you know what I mean? And then when I finally got a bag, I was able to have some type of cushion and be comfortable. Then I started really learning how to, save my money and to invest in smart things. But coming into the league, we have no clue on anything. Most of us only seen a couple $100 in our bank account, you know what I mean? And that was just in a regular Bank of America account. We didn't know anything about financial advisors or, setting aside money and just living off of, a certain amount. I was living like a millionaire and I wasn't, you know what I mean? But
right.
That was I just got caught up.
Yeah, you have to like maintain that status, somebody could be making this and another person making this, but y'all at the same club spending the same money. So.
Right.
That doesn't work.
You want to be close to your teammates and you want to hang out with the popular guys. And I was the young undrafted guy and I go out to the club with our star players and I see them spend $3,000-4,000. I'm like, oh, I guess I can do that too. You know what I mean? But not knowing that they getting a couple $100,000 next week and I only getting $20,000 after taxes. And then after that season is over, I'm struggling, you know what I mean? But I'm partying with a millionaire and he's doing it and making it look easy. And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm in the NFL too. I should be able to do this too. And then next thing you know, you done spent $6,000-8,000 in a month partying. It's like, where did all this money go?
Right.
Listen, I played with MJ my first 2 years, Michael Jordan. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not even going to think to go do anything that he's on a whole different, but I did see guys who were trying to hang with MJ and do what MJ do. I was like, he's on a whole different stratosphere. I got, you know what I mean? I'm not even going to think about that.
No, that's wonderful. All right. So I want to wrap up. Any advice? I guess I can start with Dad. Any advice? I mean, you're 70 something this year. And so you've been around, for a while. You've experienced so many different things. Any advice that you would have to, other young players who are coming into, football, ballooning, any advice that you have for them? Oh, come off mute, Dad.
Well, number one, regardless of the sport that you play, practice doesn't necessarily make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So practice, practice, practice. Be a good practicer. And the main thing out of 73 years and all the different things I've done in life, you have to have a relationship with God. You don't have a relationship with God, I mean, there's nothing else that matters. So, you know, that's the number one thing. As I was ballooning, hot air ballooning, you don't have a device to be able to steer the balloon. So I learned quickly, Lord, I'm in your hands. I'm 3,000 feet up in the air and the winds change, and the winds have taken me over a downtown with tall buildings and everything. And I'm running out of gas and I don't see any place to land. And, you know, me and the Lord got close quickly and all the time. You know, a lot of pilots think it's their skills that allows them to land different places, but it's all God. And you know, definitely perseverance. You got to hang in there. You know, you're going to have your ups and downs all the time. So you just got to hang in there and tough it out, regardless of what sport you're playing or what job that you eventually have. So that's the main thing. You know, have a good relationship with God, hang in there, dream, always dream. You know, you can always attain anything. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So, you know, just hang in there and dream your dreams and live out your life.
Well said, well said. Anybody else want to add anything before we conclude?
I think that was great. He said it all right there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. You know, I can't wait till this film comes out February 2nd, 2021. I hope you all enjoyed this discussion, and, you know, I definitely hope somebody can learn something from it. So I appreciate your time, and I will let you have your day back.
Great.
Bye, everyone. It was great being on with you all.